This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
Wait a second. Who is that guy? Who is he?
Bob Joseph.
Good morning. It's Thursday, November 24th, 2024. The program has just begun. Where will it go? Stay tuned and find out. Between now and noon, the premise of the program is you are welcome to call at 607-772-1290. And as calls come into our massive high-tech WNBF telephone center, we will answer them. We will answer them with efficiency and professionalism. So, if you want to participate, do so. It is easy and fun. So, if you want to have a little bit of fun on your Thursday, let us begin. Morning, you're caller number one. Congratulations. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
I'm ready for fun, Bob.
You may already be a winner. I feel like Jed McMahon. Ho, 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 ho. Ho, 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 Johnny. Ho, ho. Let's go out after the show and have a moxie. Ho, ho, ho. Remember Jed McMahon? What a guy.
Jed McMahon.
From the Johnny Carson show over at NBC Late Night.
Yeah.
Good times. What's on your mind, Dave from Vestal?
Hey, good morning, Bob. Hey, I see, I was with John hoping for Rick Scott to get the Senator Majority Leader. I was hoping he would win that. He didn't. We got John Thune. He's saying all the right things as far as working with Trump on his agenda there. He's saying all the right things, but I'm a little leery.
Why? Why are you skeptical?
Well, because Thune's he's on the borderline of swampy. He's part of the swamp, and the whole theme of this election. And Trump's always been that way, anti-swamp. Let's drain it. Will he ever be able to drain the whole thing, Bob? He can't totally drain it. The swamp creatures are embedded so deep it takes multiple blasts of dynamite to clean that out. The best they can hope for is to reduce it to a mere puddle. But how about that Matt Gaetz? Now, there's a bold pick, Bob. Too much baggage. I doubt it'll be confirmed, but boy,
he has no chance. Has absolutely no chance in Halstead of getting confirmed. But it is amusing and it's transparent what this is about, because this gives him cover because he was under investigation by his colleagues in the big house. Oh no, the House. Because if he ever gets convicted of something, it could wind up going to the big house. But as it became painfully clear that his colleagues were about to release a potentially scathing report about his purported behavior, he certainly called in a favor from the big guy, and the big guy nominated him for a post for which he's eminently unqualified, and this gives him cover to instantly resign from the House. So now apparently the report that was going to be released on Friday is not going to be publicly released. So it's clever the way this works. Of course he's not going to be nominated. He has as much business being in that job as I do in this job.
Well, no, actually,
No, actually, that's true. That's not a good analogy. I'm eminently qualified for my job, whereas the job that he's ostensibly been tapped for, he's no way. There's no way. No how. Come on, man. We need an attorney general, something a person like Letitia James. A person like Kamala Harris, somebody who knows what it's like to enforce the laws of America instead of breaking laws of America. You see what I'm saying?
Let's not go overboard there, Bob, with those picks. I mean,
I'm not recommending them. I'm saying I'm using them as examples. I mean, I'm sure there are other fine women who would be great. I mean, not every attorney general can be Janet Reno.
No, even Judge Janine would be better than them.
I'm exercising restraint. I had something I was about to say, but this is the nicer Bob that people like so much.
Hey, Bob. Speaking of the Senate too, you know, it looks like they're going to have 53 seats, and I'm so glad, Bob, because we have a couple senators that they're Democrats disguised as Republicans, and they're anti-Trump. They always vote with the Democrats. It's that Collins and Murkowski. They give me headaches. They drink the same. They drink Kool-Aid
just between you and me, I happen to like them. But continue. Hold on, I'm opening up some fan mail. Hold on.
Okay.
I should open up the fan mail before the program instead of during, but okay, continue. I've got to open. Wait, pulling the item from the large envelope. Oh, this is nice. Okay, continue.
Yeah, they're definitely a thorn in Trump's side. Those two, and they seem to drink the same Kool-Aid as Chief Justice Roberts. There, I don't consider the Supreme Court 6-3. I consider it 5-4. That's my own opinion. That's the way I look at it. And just glad, Bob, 53. 54, 55 would have been nice, but 53 is good because we can almost make them irrelevant now. One other thing I wanted to say, I forget what it was, Bob. Bob, do we have time to pivot to one more topic?
Well, not really, but go ahead.
Okay. 2 weeks from today is Thanksgiving, Bob. And I'm wondering how many homes throughout the country do you think their walls will be wearing Thanksgiving dinner after this election? You know, I only
say zero. What is this narrative in the liberal media that somehow, and we seem to hear this almost every year before the joyful holiday season, that suddenly families aren't going to be able to enjoy the holiday season because of political differences? I don't get it. If people don't get along, they don't get along. It's not because of political differences. Either you get along with your relatives, regardless of their worldview, or you don't. It has nothing to do with who won the election or who gets nominated for Attorney General. Either you get along with people, as I strive to, or you don't. But this is an ongoing media narrative, just like the alleged war on holidays that we heard about for about a decade before it finally wore so thin and there was no real evidence that there was a war on holidays. So, I understand why the media does that. It's because there's a lot of airtime to fill.
Well, long story short, Bob, but I have a little proof that it does exist. 2020 was not a very happy Thanksgiving in my house. And, my son graduated Vestal. He went 4 years, went off 4 years to college. And when he left home, Bob, he had conservative values. After 4 years in college, a complete 180. So don't tell me they don't indoctrinate. They don't politically influence our kids, because ever since then, Bob, he's now in his 40s, and we bump heads. Matter of fact, I've already been forewarned by my wife, Bob. Do not say anything political whatsoever. And that's like telling me not to breathe. You know that. And 2020 was not good at all. So now, Bob, I figured out a way I said, well, what if he says anything? She goes, don't worry. I'll talk to him. There won't be any problem. And, she is the boss, so we will listen to her. But I figured out a way around it, Bob. We go to his house because we're going up Clay, Liverpool area. That's where he lives. We're going to his home for Thanksgiving dinner. I'm not going to say a word. But at the end of the day, Bob, because I plan on wearing my Trump T-shirt underneath my button-down shirt. And before we leave, boy, it's getting hot here. I got to button my shirt. I got to say something without saying anything, Bob, because he always gives it to me. So,
well, I'll just say this. You're certainly welcome to follow through on your clever plan. I'll just say as somebody who wants to give unsolicited advice, if I were you, I wouldn't do it.
You know what, Bob?
I'm serious. I know you didn't ask for my advice, and I certainly don't expect you're going to follow my guidance, but I would say, and strictly, if I were you, I wouldn't do it. But you do you, and go ahead and do it. And if you think somehow that is good for family relations or whatever, if you think that's overall contributing to peace and tranquility and a better overall relationship, go ahead and do it. I'm not going to stop you.
Life is much better.
Life is much better when you just get along and when you don't. I mean, it's one thing on a talk show to have interesting conversations. If people get tired of the talk show, then they can opt out for a time until they recharge. But things like holiday dinners, it's not the time or the place to be lording it over, regardless of your position, regardless of whether you supported one candidate or another, whether you supported the good candidate or the bad candidate. It really, it's not the time. The talk shows, that's why we have talk shows. So hopefully people get this out of their system before the holidays.
Life's better when your wife's not mad at you too. That's a lot better. So
they say. So they say.
Hey, yeah, and
many people are saying,
if the food gets flying, Bob, protect that pumpkin pie. You can't let that. Don't let anything happen to that.
Don't worry. For my Thanksgiving, food won't get flying. It'll just be enjoyed. Okay. Enjoyed responsibly. All right. Okay. Be well.
Yep.
923 WNBF. Hello. This is Sally Jesse Raphael. Do you need advice? No, this is Bob. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Bob.
Hey there. What's up?
You're talking about getting along at Thanksgiving. I've seen clips of people. They won't go to their parents' house. They hate their parents now. Don't you see this stuff? It's on. Why am I echoing?
It sounds fine to me. It sounds great.
Why am I? It's echoing. You got something messed up there. You got a button pushed you shouldn't. Come on, you've been doing this for 50 years. Yeah, but don't you see the clips on TV of these people? You shouldn't. Come on, you've been doing this for 50
years. That's all for entertainment. People put that on the internet for clicks.
No,
those are people.
Internet, Bob, don't start. Let me talk. It's not on the internet. If you'd get your nose out of the New York Times and watch Fox News or Newsmax, people that really tell you what's going on, there is people who hate their parents now because they voted for Donald Trump. And you think that's all right? That's sick. I don't understand these liberals. Now we're supposed to get along and, no way. I'm more bitter than I was before.
Wait, you're a sore loser?
No, I'm a sore winner. No, I don't know. I just got home from an unwell family, and, I was in a good mood, and then the same old. I'm tired of you denying the liberals are the instigator of everything. Everything Trump does, every pick he makes. Oh, man, that guy's an idiot. Come on, man, is your buddy Joe. You see Joe smile on his face yesterday? He's happy.
He is happy. He's finally able to get the heck out of there. For him, what it occurred to me, the reason he was so happy when he met the former guy was that he knew that the former guy would be coming in about 2 months.
Again, pal.
Hey, the former guy is coming back.
I'm not going for it.
Well, he is coming back.
Okay, is Biden you going to start that?
Yeah.
Call him the former guy?
I will.
No, but you won't say it derisively like you do Trump. Bob, get a grip. When you did that yesterday where your opinion wasn't in it, that was great. You ought to name this the Bob Joseph Opinion Show. Everything anybody tries to talk to you about, you stick your opinion in there. We don't care about your opinion. Are you a psychiatrist today? You're always telling people what they should do. Who are you? You know what I'm saying? Let's get a grip here. Let people express their opinions without you. Well, no, I don't know. I don't understand you, and I never will, I guess.
But you still love the program.
Huh?
But you still love the program.
No, I'm going down to the park and listen to Gallagher. I just got back.
Don't listen. Do not listen to him. Do not. I must stipulate, and unfortunately, apparently because of time constraints, the call has been ended, but thank you for your call. Appreciate our valued listeners, but don't listen to other shows. I mean, come on, man. This is the show. If you want to listen to other shows, listen to them some other time. From 9 to noon, this is the show. Let there be no other shows that will distract you. Morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Tom from Susquehanna.
Good morning, Tom. Welcome back, my friend.
What? Bob?
What's up?
Oh. Yeah. Bob, am I on the show? Am I on?
You're the only thing on now on WNBF, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM,
the line's going dead.
and screaming at WNBF.com.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right, as long as you can hear me. Tell John to keep listening to the show. And I like the guy. The guy's got my, this is the way I feel. And I agree with him. And just don't get so aggravated with you. I mean, he's going to have a heart attack, and then there's only going to be me left to go after you anti-Trumpers. But I'm going to say something even the other way. My daughter is in show business, and she definitely is a liberal. I mean, when we talk, I mean, it's not fair, but she comes up with these things. It's the liberal mentality. I don't know if it's show business or what, but it's just that liberal.
No, I'll tell you what it is, because she's too busy drinking the liberal Kool-Aids.
Well, I don't know if it is there. I mean, I like now she was talking about Trump, and Dad, I don't think that who knows what he's going to do. Oh, and want to hear something else? My family now are all Democrats down in New York. We had 4 bears on my deck, right? So my wife sends the pictures out to the family, Let me tell you something. All of those liberals, you know what they noticed? Oh, he's got a Trump banner in front of his house. That's what because I got it hanging from the deck, I use it to lure them in.
Right. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. But, Bob, you're not coming in too good. There's something wrong with the phones, I think. Bob?
All right. Well, I'll move on.org. I appreciate your call.
I tell John to keep listening.
He will. He's addicted. He's addicted to the Bob Show. It's 9:30, WNBF Binghamton with the Bob Show. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Bob, it's Harry from Coventry.
Hi, Harry. Good morning. Did you just send me an email?
I did.
I see. Thank you, Harry, for sending. You said it's a great morning. And
well, I really feel bad for some people having to move into the 20th century with equipment.
Yeah, well, you either make the transition or you leave. You know, I've been through so many technological changes since I started in radio. When I started, everything was AM, and we had turntables and cart machines and reel-to-reel machines, and now they took all that stuff away.
Well, I just put a new tube in my 1966 amplifier.
Which is funny. I just put a new tube in my 2023 iPad. So, you know, it's interesting. So tubes, thank goodness for vacuum tubes, even in the 21st century. They really, really do help us.
It really bothers me that there's so much hatred.
I don't really think there's as much hatred as you think. A lot of say some of the stuff you hear on radio programs where people sound like they're kind of amped up. Maybe they've had too many energy drinks or whatever. I think a lot of it is just performance art. That's my conclusion. I think a lot of people pretend because they didn't get enough acting time in the high school musical. I think they pretend when they call radio programs that they're angry when in fact they're just having fun.
Well, it's so it's bothering me that my wife turns on somebody like Mark Levin, and I get to listen to him, and I'm like, well, he really can't be like that in real life.
That's what I'm saying. It's performance art. Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, Dan Bongino, they're all performers. That's what it's about.
Oh.
It's to provide entertainment. If you don't provide entertainment, as we demonstrated ably yesterday, because we did a demonstration of what this program would sound like if I switched over to C-SPAN mode, where everybody, good morning, thank you for calling WNBF. What's your name? Where are you calling from? It's not sustainable. It's doable. Who wants to listen to that? We need, whether it's on radio or TV, we need to be entertained and stimulated. You can't have hour after hour of boredom. That's why Levin is such a big success, or Bongino, or Hannity. They're successful because they're entertaining. They're not boring.
I don't want to be entertained. I want to listen to people, and that's why you're on my radio.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. See, I try to strike a delicate balance with this program.
Anyways, we need to go have a Moxie and a knee high someday.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Okay, thanks, Harry.
Yep, be well.
934 WNBF. Again, the key thing, in my opinion, and nobody has to agree, this is simply my opinion, I think the key thing is you have to have a degree of entertainment for radio and TV programs or for podcasts. Without some entertainment, without some unpredictability, everything gets so, boring. I hate to use the word boring, but I notice on more and more, say, news programs, they just seem boring. We now go live to the scene, and then it's been scripted. You know it's scripted. Live at the scene. And there's no excitement. What happened to the excitement that once existed in radio and TV? They have, to a great extent, they've sucked out all of the excitement, all of what we used to listen to radio or watch TV for. Now it feels like everything is talk about fake news. It's not that they're telling lies. It has this feeling of artificiality. Bring back spontaneous. Let people deviate occasionally from the script. It's 9:36 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
I'm DJ from Binghamton. How you doing, Bob?
Great. How are you, Deej?
I am blessed and well. Hey, I watched the second senatorial hearing yesterday, and they're calling them UAPs now, unidentified aerial phenomena. And the Air Force person was saying, "We've got them from the helicopter. We got our pictures from the helicopter." So, did you watch that or hear about that?
Yeah, I heard about it. I'm not going to watch that. I mean, well, you know what that reminds me of? Who is that guy? Oh, Art Bell. The Art Bell Show.
This is nothing like that.
And Art Bell is talking about UFOs, and come on, man. He was doing a show from Pahrump, Nevada. Like there's a place called Pahrump, Nevada. It's like, come on. And he had guests on. Well, I was kidnapped. I was kidnapped by aliens from El Salvador. And I was like, no, you weren't. You're just trying to sell a book. So anyway, continue. So tell me about the hearing. I heard that it happened, but I didn't watch it.
Art Bell did this voice like this. It was creepy. I used to listen to it in the early 2000s. Nancy Mace is on that. If you YouTube it, take your formerly non-anything fingers, because you said you didn't do anything, and Google or YouTube the Nancy Mace is on there. But anyway, so the Christians believe, and the Bible talks about, we're here. There's no life on Mars. There's no life on Uranus. There's no life on anywhere else, okay? I look out my bedroom window at night, but last night the moon was in my living room, but in my bedroom is Saturn, where Saturnalia comes from, the worship at December 25th. But anyway, I don't want to get off. She's doing these hearings, and it's not Art Bell. You can Google it, YouTube it, or whatever, but it's going to be used as a deceptive device to explain the rapture. Why are so many people not here? Okay, the earth is quaked or whatever happens in the future, and then everybody's gone. Where are they? Well, they say that the government or Antichrist, whatever you want to call it, the entity, is going to use this for a explanation. They were abducted by UFOs, or now they're calling it aerial phenomena. Unidentified aerial phenomena.
Well, it's possible.
It's interesting. Life is good, man.
All right.
A creepy UFO comes in your living room.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you just drink too much moxie. I'll be fine.
Thank you. Appreciate your call. It's 9:39. WUFO. Yeah, I'll be my new radio station. WUFO. Unidentified fun objects. Every day. WUFO. It's a mystery. It's 9:39 WNBF with a real live program. 607-772-1290. Give us a call. I think we're off to a great start on this Thursday morning. Binghamton now. Good morning, WNBF with the WNBF weather, courtesy of the Natural Weather Service. And the good news is we have no snow in the forecast. The bad news is we have no rain in the forecast. I am not a fan of the rain. Oh, you know that. I am definitely generally unhappy when it rains. Unlike that one big pop hit where she's always happy, only happy when it rains. I'm usually unhappy when it rains, but unfortunately right now with the dry conditions that are pervasive here in the Binghamton area and across the Northeast, this is getting to the point of being very, very dangerous. So, as much as most people around here are generally fed up with the rain, it is true. At this stage, like they say from the weather deck, we really need the rain. Here's the forecast. Increasing clouds today, high 47. Cloudy tonight, low 30. Partly sunny tomorrow, then gradually becoming sunny, high 54. Sunny Saturday, high 54. Mostly sunny Sunday, high 56. Right now, 37. That's 3 Celsius here at WNBF. Air quality is super. Air quality index is 37. It's good. So looking at this forecast all the way through next Wednesday, the forecast for Binghamton has no reference to rain. So does that mean there will be no rain at all for the next week? Probably not. There probably will be some rain in the WNBF listening area over the next 7 days, but evidently nothing appreciable and nothing that is going to alleviate the extremely dry conditions. So that's, as somebody once said, the way it is. I think it was Bruce Hornsby who used to say that, wasn't it? I'm Bruce Hornsby, and that's the way it is. Let's take some more calls on WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Bob. It's Gary on the Upper West Side. How are you today?
Good. How are things on the Upper West Side?
It's a little overcast, windy, and it was chilly this morning, but things are okay. I like days like this, you know. Cold weather isn't a bad thing.
Mama
Makes
told
you
me.
feel alive.
Yeah, Mama told me there'd be days like this.
I wanted to ask you a question. You don't have to answer this, Bob, if you don't feel like it. The other day, Veterans Day, we were talking about things and other people calling in. And you had mentioned how your father was overseas, and I think he was in the military police, if I had that correct, or was he an MP?
Well, he definitely was an MP. Now, how much military policing he actually did, I'm not sure. One thing I do know that happened on an almost daily basis is he and one of his Army buddies, when they were in France, because that's where he was, one of their choice military assignments was every night they had to make a drive from, I don't know if it was from Nice to Paris or Nice to Toulouse. I can't remember from where to where, because they were assigned to do, basically it was a mail run. So, but I also believe although he was an MP, I don't know how much MP type stuff he did. I have to say, never
did he
really
come back from overseas?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, because you don't talk about your dad.
Well, and he's no longer with us, okay. but he, he worked for IBM back in the day, and the thing is, he, I think when he turned 18, he joined the military, joined the Army, and back then, IBM allowed people to get credit as if they were still working for the company, even during their period of military service. So he still accrued time.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so, it was good for him that he served in the Army. It was good for him that he was, as far as I seem to recall, the few times we talked about his time in the Army, because we didn't talk about lots of specifics, but so I believe he was very fortunate as people who serve in the military go. It's not as though he was dealing with combat. I think
he had a very important job, Bob. From what you described.
Well, it was important.
Let me just say this, is that, like, when you're in the military, nothing is better than receiving a piece of mail from home.
Well, and also for people who had loved ones serving in the Army to be able to get mail. So, I mean, it goes both ways. Yeah.
True, absolutely.
Never having served in the military, I can only try to imagine what it must be like to be away from your family and friends for 2 or 3 or more years. And sometimes you're in a combat situation, so there's a real question about whether you'll ever see home again. Sometimes, even if you're in a situation where you're not facing imminent injury or death, it's still, you're separated. And although there may be elements during your military service, if you're fortunate, there may be some plus sides of it, you still aren't really where you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One other thing, too, Bob, tomorrow there's going to be a fight, Friday night fight. Fighting used to be, I'm talking boxing now, used to be a great event. Madison Square Garden, Ali Frazier. There was a lot of great foremen. You know, now we got Mike Tyson fighting a guy that's on the internet, a younger guy than him. 27 against 59. All right, it's going to be on Netflix. Will you be watching? I know I will be.
No, I'm not. I'm not I'm not. Two things. A, you're right. I'm not a boxing fan. I'm not a fan of traditional boxing. I'm not a fan of what that kid from UE does, Bones Jones, trying to beat the crap out of people. Not a fan of any
ever. The greatest.
Well, so he thinks.
He is.
You know, but
no, he is.
But can he drive a Bentley on Grand Avenue? So you and I
he can, but not straightly.
Well, yeah, he can. He can up to a point. You see what I'm saying? And again, not that there's anything wrong with that. You know, we all have our challenges, and you and I can drive a Bentley without smashing into a utility pole at 4 a.m. with 2 of our closest friends.
Never been in one. Never been in a Bentley.
Yeah, well. So anyway, again, you know, this whole concept of people trying to inflict pain on each other or whatever, I don't understand the premise. I never did. Never liked it from the first time I saw it.
Right? It's not inflicting pain.
Well, whatever.
Who can take a punch?
I know.
That's what it is.
Well, I know. Well, no, I just don't understand the fascination with it. Yeah, bottom line, I know what they're trying to prove, but I just think the whole thing is ridiculous. But, you know.
How about old guy versus a young guy? There's that aspect of it, right? You got a lot of old people.
What's the point? Why are we sanctioning something? Why are we putting something on TV where a young guy and an old guy are going to try to hurt each other?
Well, because Tyson was probably one of the toughest fighters ever. I mean, he would knock you out in one round.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Right. So
that's what I heard, and I heard he also, instead of eating his Tyson chicken, he liked to eat ears. So you got to draw the line somewhere. So here's a guy who the last time I heard that he was in the fighting business before he got into the chicken business and the prepared meat business, I mean, which is actually a better thing because only the animals suffer. Oh, now Pete is mad. Okay, strike that from the record. No, the animals don't suffer because they're Mike Tyson's chicken factory, I'm sure, processes all of the creatures humanely. The bottom line is, I don't think Mike Tyson and the young guy, deserve to be rewarded. I think, was it Paul Schaefer? I don't know. I can't remember.
Paul Schaefer. He's on one of them night shows, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was on with Jay Leno. But anyway, or is that Doc Severinsen? Anyway, I'm sure a lot of people. Hello. I am sure a lot of people will watch and enjoy it, and that's okay. I guess it's legal.
I'll be watching it just to see if Tyson can handle it.
And when is this? It's tomorrow?
Tomorrow night, I think, on Netflix. If you have Netflix.
No, I don't.
I don't even know where I don't know where they're fighting, even.
I don't know.
I think it's... Oh, you know where I think it is? In Dallas, at the Dallas Stadium.
Oh, here I thought it was at the Masonic Temple over at 66 Main Street in Binghamton. Wouldn't that be funny?
Not open.
Yeah, wouldn't that be funny that they fixed it all up, but they didn't tell us, and then suddenly you tune in to Netflix tomorrow night to watch the big fight with Mike Tyson from Chicken fame, and then they say, live from Binghamton, New York, the Masonic Temple. And it's like, we didn't even know that they were redoing it.
Yeah, it was a big secret. Hey, I want to say one other thing, too, about Chief Zerkowski. Congratulations. This was a very big bust.
Oh, I heard that. I was watching Action News.
Sheriff.
I was watching the story on Action News last night, and on News 34, and on Fox 40. They all covered it. The only, I didn't write the story. I didn't go to the thing because I was doing some other original reporting yesterday when they made the big announcement.
What is the hardest thing to go to, Bob, when you're a reporter? Like a car accident or where somebody's been shot or something like that? It must be a difficult thing to report on.
It's always difficult when you go to a breaking news scene and people have been hurt or worse, and sometimes you don't even know the scope of it. It's always difficult. It never gets easy.
Right. Yeah, because of people's lives.
And to be fair, in my role as a journalist, going to a place where somebody may have been badly hurt or maybe even killed, let's face it, a lot of people aren't going to be happy. First, anybody there, as a rule, whether they just saw something or even if they were a participant or whatever, nobody really is going to be happy. And then a reporter shows up, and then everybody is even less happy by the presence of a journalist. So you're not welcome there. And
right. But when you went down over here on the west side when there were shots fired at a car, and you went to the house.
That one guy
was giving you the dirty look.
Oh yeah, no, I thought he was going to go inside.
House is for sale, by the way.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I think they moved out.
Yeah. Anyway, appreciate your call. Yeah, when I went to talk with people in the neighborhood, I thought that guy, because of his poor attitude, was going to go inside and bring out a Glock and show me how much he disliked me. Fortunately, he didn't when I left and went to do the program. 9:55 WNBF. Coming up, more phone calls and more fun and frivolity on the radio. Yes, it's fun, and yes, it's frivolous. It's Binghamton Now with Bob Joseph. Stay tuned to WNBF. By Binghamton Mayor Jared Cram. Welcome back.
Bob, good morning. And the streets were bustling when I walked here today. A lot of activity in downtown. It was certainly not a sleepy Thursday morning. So even with a little colder weather, people are out and about. Talked to a few folks on the street. It's a good day in Binghamton.
As they say, it's beginning to look a lot like the holidays.
That's right. And if you haven't driven through downtown Binghamton recently, there's some new holiday lighting. The city worked side by side with some of the downtown business owners to try to enhance some of the holiday cheer in downtown. Obviously, a lot of people come downtown for events, restaurants, holiday shopping. We'll be doing a kickoff on Small Business Saturday in a few weeks. But again, just another thing to kind of enhance the streetscape downtown, some of the snowflake lighting. So it's an exciting time of year. It's certainly one of my favorite times of the year, this kind of autumn, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and we're looking forward to the holidays.
And I was going to get to that later in the hour, but since you brought it up, I think it was about 2 weeks ago or so that this lighting started to appear downtown, and I thought to myself, it does look new. It does look different from what I've seen in the past. Tell me a little bit about that, because from what I've observed, especially now that it gets dark so early, a lot of times if I'm leaving here at about 5 in the afternoon, it's dark, and Court Street looks really nice with this lighting. Tell me a little bit about what's new this year.
Yeah, so the city of Binghamton, really through our local development corporation, doing some outreach to downtown businesses, asking them, hey, what's something new we could do? We've had the lighted wreaths for many, many years, which are beautiful, and they're still in installation this year, but just something new. And so we partnered with Illuminations, which is a local company, to make that investment in the holiday lighting. And to your point, when it seems to get dark at 5 o'clock these days, having that kind of bright, really high-quality lighting in downtown Binghamton, it's just another support for the small businesses and adds to the streetscape amenities. So it was a good investment. We've received a lot of positive feedback about it, and just something little we can do to support the small business community.
And so you'll have a special event coming up in a couple of weeks to sort of kick off the holiday season for downtown?
That's right. So on Small Business Saturday, we'll do our annual tree lighting in downtown Binghamton. It's a celebration of the small businesses. Let people know that, hey, this holiday season, a lot of people obviously are shopping online, the Amazons, they're shopping at the big box department stores, which we people will still be able to do that. But think about downtown Binghamton and some of the specialty shops that we have. Buy a gift card to a local independently owned restaurant if you're going to be giving people in your place of work or family members this holiday season, because that money stays within the local economy. When you buy something online, those profits are leaving. But if you buy a gift card at a local restaurant downtown, that's helping support local jobs. Obviously, a lot of times family-owned independent restaurants. It gets more traffic into downtown Binghamton, so it has that multiplier effect. And Small Business Saturday is a way to highlight that and let people know that if you're going to spend your dollars, try to spend them locally as much as you can.
Will anything be happening here at the corner across the street from the station here at 72 Court Street this year at corner? It's the southeast corner of Court and State.
Yeah, I in the city in the last couple of years have partnered with some of the local Jewish organizations to have a menorah there to celebrate Hanukkah. I would anticipate we'll do something similar this year. Haven't been able to connect with them, but Rabbi Slonim from Chabad is a good friend of mine, and I'm sure we'll get something figured out for that as well.
Yeah, it was a nice lighting ceremony last year, and so many people, all ages, were there to observe the first night of the lighting. So that would be nice to see if the tradition there can continue. Since we're focused on downtown and upcoming holiday shopping, let's talk about the status of the parking garage, because the Water Street Parking Garage project is moving forward to at least an initial opening, probably within the next several days. That's always been the goal, to at least have the first portion of the parking garage next to Boscov's open.
Yeah, and thinking about this project in terms of a drive in a football game, I know we've got a lot of NFL fans. We're inside the 1 yard line here on the garage in terms of opening up that first floor. So our goal was always for the holiday shopping season, we should be able to meet that. There's a couple variables up in the air, but really a majority of the project is done. There's equipment in place, there's paving, there's striping, and we're just working on some coordination with NYSEG on some equipment that had to be delivered. And so our goal is to still have the first portion of that open for the holiday shopping season, and as the upper floors are being worked on. The project has been going well. And then in the spring, we will finish some of the other infrastructure in terms of sidewalks. There's a plan for other streetscape improvements around the parking garage area as part of kind of a phase 2 of our arts district streetscape improvements. So we're very, very close. And, folks that have been near that garage know that we've been able to open up some of the on-street parking again. There's been improvements made to the Boscov's facade, as well as some improvements on the inside of Boscov's too. So things are headed in the right direction, and we really look forward to opening up that brand new parking garage to support downtown Binghamton.
So there should be an announcement probably, I would say, in another week or so about the initial opening. And based on what you know from what you're hearing about the project, when would you anticipate full completion, that the whole thing, signage and all the other the big and little things would be completed for this project on Water Street?
I would say in the early part of 2025. Not anything that would go on for months. A project of this size, you're always going to have some punch list items that tend to drag out for a few months. But I would say in the early part of 2025, January, we should have substantial completion and opening up all of the levels of the garage, and basically be in operation as any type of garage, like 7 Hawley Street is in operation right now.
One thing I wanted to correct or clarify from the last time you were here on the program a few weeks ago, I gave basically unintentionally misleading description of where I believe things stood with respect to Boscov's outside and also inside, because it was just about a year ago at this time that there was a big announcement that $10 million would be spent for upgrading the store infrastructure and other aspects of the store that isn't actually owned by Boscov's. Boscov's is a tenant there. But on the program last month, I made it sound as though next to nothing had been done inside the store or even outside, and then may have been a few hours later after we wrapped up the segment, I went over to inspect the progress on the parking garage, and I noticed the entrance area near the new parking garage to the Boscov's men's department. A lot had been done there, and then I thought, well, if they did a lot in that area of the entrance to Boscov's, I should go inside and see what's going on there. And it turns out, while I wasn't looking, in recent months, they actually had done a significant amount of work to renovate the men's department. So I wanted to at least acknowledge that there has been a start of some of the interior work at the Boscov store, and what I saw after your last appearance here looks good.
Yeah, the men's store, certainly one of the most trafficked parts of the store. New lighting, ceiling, really cleaned up that area. And there was some also work that was done on that facade, on that Water Street entrance of Boscov's that people will use when they park in the parking garage to go into Boscov's. I was probably there maybe around the same day or two that you were. I'm a Boscov shopper like many of your listeners. And again, it's a sign of progress with the store. The BLDC, the local development corporation that owns the property, actually just this morning approved the lease agreement, the 10-year lease extension. So we had agreed in principle to some of the business terms, many months ago. But this is kind of the final legal type document that will guide redevelopment and guide Boscov's being there for the next decade, which is an important part, an important goal that I had for downtown Binghamton. The amount of traffic that store drives that has ancillary economic development activity, the fact that Binghamton is one of a few downtowns across America that has a department store, it underscores why that's so important. And so we will be continuing to make upgrades at the store to build on the progress that's been made. Certainly during the holiday shopping season, Boscov's doesn't want a lot of disruptions, but as we head into, again, the early part of next year, there will be more noticeable changes. And just to kind of remind your listeners, the building that's of that size and of that age, a lot of what has to be done to HVAC improvements, to building envelope improvements, electrical systems are not things that will necessarily be immediately known to a customer, but are nonetheless kind of a critical part of keeping Boscov's there and allows Boscov's to focus on some of the other aesthetic amenities in their store operations with their investments. So it's a unique lease agreement, but it's something that keeping this store in downtown for the long term will be great for not just downtown, but I think our entire area. And as far as you just mentioned, the local development corporation gave its approval for the lease extension for that property.
in that meeting. I assume, were you there?
Yeah, it was this morning.
It was
yes.
just at 9:15, so
yes.
it wrapped up less than an hour ago. So will you and Boscov's representative then be signing that lease agreement now that the LDC has given its formal approval?
Yes, I won't be signing it. It will be an officer from the BLDC. There's also a related parking agreement that the Boscov's has with the city of Binghamton as it relates to the validation. Anyone over the years who shopped at Boscov's knows that you can get free parking if you're a shopper there. So that agreement is headed to City Council next week. So when those are both approved through the requisite boards, the ink will be dry on the signatures, and that will set up, the future of Boscov's. So this is a more legal and technical process. Boscov's and the city came to terms on what our collective vision was, many months ago, and as you mentioned, about a year ago, we made that announcement. So this is the paperwork kind of catching up with that.
And as you alluded to about much of the work that must be done at the Boscov's building, even some of that was touched on at, I see on the LDC agenda, a resolution about maintenance for the boiler and freight elevator. Obviously, the average shopper isn't going to know anything about the boiler or freight elevator, but those are critical elements to running the store.
Exactly. And so your systems, and really, we looked at this is a publicly owned building, and we want Boscov's there. Really, that's, in my opinion, the highest and best use. But we still own this building, and if upgrades are not made, and God forbid Boscov's were to ever leave, and this is before we negotiated the lease, we would still be stuck with a building that needs all of this investment. So it makes a lot more sense to do the improvements while you have a anchor tenant there than trying to play catch up after the fact.
Talking with Binghamton Mayor Jared Cram on this Thursday morning at News Radio WNBF. It's 10:24. We've got more to come about the city of Binghamton right here on WNBF. Binghamton Now, live and local, serving Binghamton for nearly a century.
Nearly a century, is
nearly
that right?
A century, yeah.
When was the founding date?
It's 1927.
Wow. So we'll have to get a centennial committee formed.
I was going to say this gives you and everybody at City Hall ample notice to start preparations, banners, parades,
exactly.
And all, of course, the appropriate proclamations. You get Governor Hochul, our senators Schumer and Gillibrand, and of course the incoming president, because we know now who the president will be for our centennial. So think about this, Mayor Cram, if you will. Downtown Binghamton celebrating in early 2027. President Trump, Mayor Cram, Senators Schumer and Gillibrand, County Executive, will it still be Jason Garner?
Yep,
he just got reelected.
That's right.
It was a close one. I know. He ran unopposed.
The only thing that can bring Democrats and Republicans together is WNBF.
See?
The wattage that emanates from this building is so powerful. It can even bring political opponents together.
So,
well, you mentioned President Trump. I mean, probably the only president who's ever appeared on the program. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and to be clear, that was before he became president, but still it was 10 years ago, and we got a good sense, even when I play back that fascinating 18-minute interview years later, a lot of his worldview from 2014 still is relevant today. I mean, he was focused primarily on New York because, as you may remember, the whole point of him being on, that was the time when he was actually toying with the idea of running for governor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
The only thing I recall from that, and it's been years since I listened to it, was that he was aware of Binghamton because as a boy maybe attended a camp not far from
out near Hancock.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, here's something that you won't hear probably anywhere else. I believe, and we can talk about it now because his youngest son has turned 18, so we're able to legally talk about Barron Trump. But when Barron Trump was younger, I believe he actually went to that camp himself. I believe Barron Trump, and I believe not 100% sure if Donald Trump, and now I have to say, or else listeners get irate, President-elect Donald Trump, see if I don't do that, some listener will be unhappy. President-elect Donald Trump back in the day, he actually may have been back in Delaware County. It may have been one of those things that was unrecognized by the media, but I've been told that Barron Trump actually spent time fishing in Delaware County. I can't verify it, but I think it's accurate. So.
Yeah, and look, it's interesting because Binghamton does have a history with presidents, I guess future and past, whether it was Reagan's visit to Union Endicott, certainly Bush when he was Texas governor with the St. Patrick's Day parade, which we talk about just about every year. Obviously, President Obama visiting Binghamton University. President-elect Trump having some connections to the area, appearing on the program. Presidential history is always something I've been fascinated with, and especially the local ties. Binghamton's part of history in a lot of different ways.
Well, and Hillary Clinton, when she was First Lady, was here frequently. First Lady, and then serving for several years as U.S. Senator. She was here. I remember the first time that Hillary Clinton was here in downtown Binghamton over at the Holiday Inn. They had a little private meeting for local Democrats inside, and Congressman Maurice Hinchey was with her as she left the building. And so we, of course, had local media, but there was some out-of-town media, some of the New York City stations, NBC4, WABC. They all had staked out because this was early as Hillary Clinton was launching her Senate campaign, and we were all disappointed. We were sad. We were sad reporters because we had been told in no uncertain terms, Hillary Clinton will not, emphasis will not, underline, italicize, will not be talking to reporters when she leaves the Holiday Inn. The good thing was, though, since Congressman Hinchey hadn't gotten that memo, what he did, he saw me, because they kept reporters a safe distance away, because, reporters aren't supposed to mingle with elected officials or candidates. So he kept reporters a safe distance away from Hillary Clinton's car. And Hinchey, not paying attention to what the game plan was, walked over because he spotted me. He said, "Hey, I have someone I want you to meet." So thanks to Congressman Hinchey spotting me, he walked Hillary Clinton, the First Lady, over, and then, therefore, reporters got a chance, actually, to ask her a couple of questions. So it was, it's one of those things. I like that only because it's one of those behind-the-scenes things where otherwise she would not have spoken with any of the Binghamton reporters that day. But
interesting.
You never know.
You mentioned Maurice Hinchey, and I can't even remember how I came across this, but as part of one of his early congressional runs, he actually had, at that time, an environmental attorney activist join him for a rally in downtown Binghamton. And at the time, it was newsworthy because another candidate, or I think someone being talked about running, was Binghamton Mayor Juanita Crabb at that time. And so that environmental activist attorney was Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who endorsed Congressman Hinchey for his environmental record, and they held the rally at a Kennedy Park right here in downtown. Obviously, the connection between RFK Jr. and John F. Kennedy. And so that, I'm not sure of the date, but I came across that and thought, wow, especially with the 2024 version of RFK Jr., that he had a piece of Binghamton political history as well.
I'd forgotten all about that. Well, I'll have to look it up in the archives. Sounds like one of those stories that'll wind up on WNBF.com in the next day or so as we...
Give me a little story credit for that. A researcher, Jared M. Cram.
Contributor.
Yes. That's right.
It's 10:33. We're talking about a lot of things in Binghamton. You and Police Chief Joseph Zukoski on Wednesday afternoon had a big announcement about the seizure of guns and drugs. Tell me about that operation and the significance of the arrest of a person after, I guess the suspect is 39 years old. Illegal guns were seized and drugs and a lot of cash.
That's correct. So the Broome County Special Investigations Unit Task Force, which is a multi-jurisdictional task force made up of members of the Binghamton Police Department, Johnson City Police Department, and Broome County Sheriff's Office, conducted a raid at 10 Felters Road on Binghamton South Side. And this was a highly successful investigation that led to the seizure of a large amounts of narcotics, including 10.5 ounces of fentanyl, crack cocaine, methamphetamine, different prescription pills, as well as nearly $60,000 in suspected drug proceeds. But in addition to the narcotics that were seized, and obviously these are drugs that would end up hurting people, loved ones, youth in our community, were 7 firearms which were also seized, and 6 handguns. There was a stolen firearm as well as a ghost gun, which ghost guns are 3D printed guns that can be assembled at home. Oftentimes they are ordered kind of piecemeal through the mail or through online websites, and they're highly dangerous because they're unregulated and really cannot be traced. So these ghost guns have been a focus of federal law enforcement and certainly city law enforcement. So this was a sizable bust in terms of the just sheer volume of narcotics, but also the fact that you were able to take 7 weapons off the street that could be used in a crime. Members of law enforcement, talking to them, they viewed this as a huge success because you never know where those guns could have ended up. They could have been used in a crime. It showcases certainly the partnership between all of the local law enforcement agencies in rooting out narcotics dealers no matter where they are. So, you know, if folks that are dealing drugs or want to do violent activity, if they think that they can be in Endicott or be in Johnson City or be in the rural parts of Broome County and evade one particular police agency or another, that is completely wrong. The agencies are joined up. We support in Binghamton investigations that happen in Johnson City, Endicott, and throughout the county. And likewise, those agencies support investigations like this one in Binghamton. And to date, the Special Investigations Unit Task Force has taken off the street 91 guns as part of arrests and raids across Broome County. That's a significant number of firearms. And, you know, when I was elected mayor, one of the things I talked about was reducing gun crime and really putting a focus on these enterprise-level investigations that involve oftentimes multiple weeks of surveillance, undercover officers working with confidential informants, undercover buys, a lot of things that will never see the light of day, and the faces and names of the officers that are doing this work will never be known to the public. But nonetheless, they're highly effective investigations, and this was a huge bust, and I really want to thank the individual officers and agencies that helped out on this.
It's 10:37, so that's in the area of the Saratoga Terrace apartment complex. Now, there is breaking news, developing news from something that happened about 10 hours ago in that area, just about 3 blocks to the west over in the area of Saratoga Avenue and Medford Street. And the police department has just released information about a shooting that occurred last night about 10 o'clock, according to the Binghamton Police Detective Division. The police got a call that a guy had been shot in the leg and was being driven to a hospital. The police say officers located a 19-year-old man who was in a privately owned vehicle near Saratoga Avenue and Medford Street. He was then transported to a hospital by EMS, and the injuries are said to be not life-threatening. The police investigation determined the shooting occurred in the area of Building 4. And at this point, there's no suspect description available. So the police are continuing their investigation, and anybody who has information can contact the Detective Division at 607-772-7080. So obviously, and let's face it, that apartment complex has many, many buildings and hundreds of residents. So it's... And the police are busy there. I mean, with whether it's drug and gun investigations or other incidents that happen, and the police were called out again late last night for that investigation. But I wanted to let people know what the detective division has just released.
Yep, that just came out as we were speaking earlier. The raid that happened earlier this week was not at the complex of Saratoga Heights or Terrace. 10 Felters is an apartment complex kind of right off of Conklin Ave.
Just over to the east, a little bit east of the apartment complex, in that general neighborhood.
Neighborhood.
Yeah, separate from the complex itself.
That's correct. And so, as is the case in a lot of these instances, obviously when an incident happens, detectives kind of initially assess the scene, and then the investigation work begins. And the use of our license plate reader system, our street camera network, obviously any shell casings that could be found as part of the investigation are run through our ballistics imaging program. I think I've talked about this on the program before, but a new piece of technology that Binghamton is utilizing as it relates to shots fired incidents. And not too long ago, if we had shell casings that were found at a scene, maybe like this one, we'd have to send it to a state police crime lab, and we'd find out maybe in 6 months if those casings and those ballistics match to other shootings that have happened in our area or other places throughout the state. Due to a technology called NIBIN, and it's an imaging platform through our Southern Tier Crime Analysis Center, we have those results in a matter of hours. And what the practical real-world change that makes is that if we can, within a few hours, connect a shots fired on the south side of Binghamton to a shots fired, let's say, in Endicott that happened a few months ago, we can start to quickly develop a list of maybe people of interest, of vehicles, and then that can really rapidly assist investigations. And the hope is that the case can be solved, an arrest can be made, or at least contact with people of interest can be made before a retaliatory shooting that happens, which a lot of times is what these come down to. So that is a really great tool, and I'm sure certainly one that will be used in this investigation.
It's 1041 WNBF. You're listening to Binghamton Now. Our guest in the studio is Mayor Jared Cram. We have more coming up. Binghamton Now, News Radio, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. We're chatting with Mayor Jared Cram. Speaking of apartment complexes, big news for the Town and Country apartments. Perhaps within the next few days, maybe less than a week, the long-awaited sale of that apartment complex on the north side to Vesta Corporation may be finalized. I know, speaking with Josh Greenblatt from Vesta a few days ago, he suggested they could have that sale finalized maybe by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. And that would be, I think, a big step toward getting the problems associated with Town and Country, whether it's the actual physical building problems and even the crime that has been an ongoing and difficult thing, getting that addressed. Because as he said, if people are living in a place they're proud of, there's going to be less likely to have any kind of a criminal element. So that's something people are going to be hearing more about, I'm sure, in the next week or two.
Yeah, and it's at the point now where state housing officials are leading that. There's a highly complex process for these affordable housing developments to actually get approval and closing. You know, I'm always holding my breath until I see a signed piece of paper and there's an announcement from the governor's office, right? Because that's really what will happen next. But anyone who's driven by the complex in recent weeks have seen kind of the start of not construction, but the prepping for construction, getting maybe vacant buildings that don't have anyone living in them boarded up and ready for a winterization to allow for construction. There's been some movement on the site. We're really looking forward to, obviously, this huge upgrade of that complex. It is long overdue. And I think points to exactly what you mentioned, Bob, about the places that are maybe not managed properly as it relates to apartment complexes or housing and have been left to deteriorate over the course of many years. that can typically breed criminal activity. And the places that are well kept, that are well lit, that have a high quality of amenities and space inside attract, good people and families and people that, may be living paycheck to paycheck, but certainly deserve a safe, comfortable place to live. Senior citizens that are on fixed incomes. You can have really, really good developments that are affordable and do not have criminal activity. And then you can also have kind of unmanaged or poorly managed apartment complexes that can lead to some of the things that we've seen at Town and Country over the years. But I have confidence in the new ownership group. I think they've been very responsive to code violations and, are just awaiting this final sign-off from the state, which will be more than a, $40 million gut rehab of a lot of the elements at that site. And we're certainly looking forward to it. The development of the Broome County Veterans One Stop, pretty much next door in that neighborhood will be a huge boost as well. That project is going very well. I think it looks great. And was just at a Northside neighborhood meeting last week and was able to provide, an update and hear from residents about some of the ongoing challenges still on the north side, but getting a fixed at Town and Country and having that Veterans Resource Center open, anticipation of redevelopment of the Binghamton Plaza. I think the north side in a few years will look a lot different and a lot better revitalized than it does today.
Speaking of Binghamton Plaza, any new developments with respect to the legal case and the city's move toward acquiring or getting control of the property through eminent domain?
Nothing new. We're still in the evaluation phase, which means an appraiser is doing a workup of the property, determining what a value could be. And certainly that will be used as part of the court and negotiations with the property owner. But there's nothing new on that. Again, we were successful with 2 court cases against the property. And so the city will be taking ownership of that. There is money in next year's budget to support demolition for the site. And so
how much money?
$2 million. $2 million. And that's, a rough estimate, obviously.
Is that ARPA money?
It's not ARPA. It is local tax dollars. These are things that will be eventually recouped when the project, goes hopefully for commercial rehabilitation and redevelopment in the years to come. So nothing new as of today, but that process, which is lengthy, does continue.
There is a project underway just behind the Binghamton Plaza, between the plaza, actually the Serafini transportation garage and going up towards Sherry Lindsay Park. Tell us about the work that's being done on the Riverwalk. Sure.
There's a flood levee that's behind the Binghamton Plaza, and you can see it really better if you're on 81 or 86, kind of across the river looking down from the interchange. But the DEC is mandating that the city do some work on that flood wall to shore up some things and reconfigure some aspects of the trail that was on top of the levee. So Gore construction is there, and this is a DEC mandated fix to the flood wall.
And is that going to be finished by spring, or what's the timetable? Because obviously that stretch of the Riverwalk is out of service while the project is underway.
Yeah, my understanding is that that'll probably be finished up this construction season, what little is left of it. But I'm not sure if the work will go into the spring or not, but it's been underway for several weeks now, and it's likely to kind of wrap up before the end of, really before snow flies, I suppose.
It's 10:49 at WNBF. Fluoride in Binghamton's water. Do you think City Council should take action to have the city stop adding fluoride to the public drinking water supply? That's something that's going to, I believe, come before City Council. A City Commission just recently voted to recommend removing or stop adding fluoride. And, of course, the controversy isn't new. This has been going on for decades and decades. But if City Council has that opportunity, what is your position about fluoride in the drinking water?
Well, look, I think for many years it's been named one of the top 10 best public health inventions in history. So the commission that recommended that is not my commission. These are folks that were appointed by City Council. It's not clear that really there's any authority for them to do that anyway. But again, it's not folks that I appointed. I'm not sure what they're basing that on. I would have concern over those types of opinions on this, because I think, again, it is a public health benefit for sure.
So if it gets to the point where City Council winds up approving that measure, would you override or veto such a move if City Council winds up actually saying, yeah, we want the this long process going on for, well, certainly all of your life in Binghamton, and I guess probably most of our lives, to stop adding fluoride? Would you fight that?
I think, that's discussing hypothetically. I don't believe that there's any serious proposal by members of City Council to do something like that. I'm not saying that they don't have the ability or authority to do a resolution like that. I'm not sure that they would have a say in that anyway. This was a group, a small number of people that have been appointed by City Council to serve on an environmental commission that obviously have very strong views on the topic. I believe that some of these individuals have very strong views on other public health topics that I think a vast majority of ordinary people would reject as kind of bunk. So I think that has to kind of be taken into consideration here. And I question a little bit of the seriousness on some of the folks on the commission.
It's 10:51 at WNBF. It's been a sort of a renewed controversy in the First Ward because the Addiction Center of Broome County is intent. They want to be able to consolidate their resources in Binghamton from West State Street over to a building that the agency acquired, I believe, a little over a year ago over on Charles Street. Some people who live in the area and some business operators are not happy about the ACBC plans to have more services. They already have their administrative offices there across from the old generating plant, but now they want to also add, I think ultimately about 140 employees provide treatment for people with substance abuse problems, and as is probably not surprising, some people don't want it there. What's your thought about the project where ACBC would move its all of its Binghamton operations to that site on Charles Street?
Yeah, the Planning Commission did approve that use after a lengthy meeting at their last meeting. I guess it was about a week ago on Election Day. When the original proposal came in for a warming center, I spoke to a lot of the businesses on Clinton Street, First Ward neighborhood watch groups, and I think there was some legitimate concerns or legitimate questions that kind of went unanswered as part of that original proposal. That is not what was proposed and was approved. This is for essentially office space and space for outpatient. When you say treatments, it's typically meetings with caseworkers. I have visited the current site of ACBC on the north side. I would compare their operations to like a dentist office. There's a waiting room, different office space, meeting space for folks that are on a STEP program, et cetera. And the key part that you mentioned is the more than 100 employees who will be at the site. This will operate, more like an office building than anything else. This is not something where there will be services provided, 24/7. This isn't a crisis center where people will be dropped off. These are individuals that are making appointments with their caseworkers that are trying to be in recovery, and that includes alcohol, certainly other drugs. So I think that the neighborhood impact would be a lot less than the proposed warming center. And again, I think from an outsider viewpoint would operate the same way that a dentist's office would. A lot of people working there, some people coming and going for appointments, but kind of an 8 to 5 type of hours of operation.
Is there still a plan? Well, I'm sure the talk continues about finding somebody to develop a cannabis-related operation nearby for the the business park, Charles Street Business Park. This has been something we've discussed. There was one company from California that at one point had talked about doing that, and I guess that plan has been shelved. But any movement for a new cannabis-type operation at the Charles Street Business Park?
Yeah, so just recently, the Office of Cannabis Management did award a license to multiple companies, one of which was a company that currently has an option agreement on space within the Charles Street Business Park. I would say that it's too early right now because we're in the few days after that to really know what the next steps are. But I would say that there's still interest, and it's still a very viable site for that job-creating element of whether it's the medical side of the industry or even just adult use. I think that there is a job creation opportunity here. I think a lot of it is determined by the market in New York State, which has been very, very slow, I think, as a rollout compared to some of the other states. So that process we're going to continue to watch, but it was, good momentum, and I still think that there's an opportunity there.
The Office of Cannabis Management also has awarded a license for, I believe, a retail cannabis establishment on Vestal Avenue, and I saw it as they announced that they were approving the application for that over on Vestal Avenue near Pennsylvania Avenue. Apparently the city had raised some concerns or some objections prior to the approval of that application. What were some of the concerns?
I would say that as it relates to the siting of cannabis retail in the city of Binghamton, my position is basically this, is that these are destination type businesses that people, not just from the city of Binghamton, but from all throughout the region, are typically driving to. And they have a lot of requirements as it relates to security and layout of the store. So these are, very high quality establishments. These are well visited establishments. So I believe that they should be filling vacant storefronts or filling areas of the city that maybe have some economic stagnation. And in the case of the Vestal Ave proposal, this would be basically booting out an existing business, which is there.
Which business?
It's the Mexican restaurant, and a great locally owned restaurant. So if we're going to be citing cannabis retailers, in my opinion, they should be going into vacant storefronts, right? Don't remove a business to put in a cannabis retailer when the city has a variety of vacant storefronts that could be kind of reimagined and generated. I'd like to see things, on Clinton Street or maybe in an area of the north side that needs development, or maybe a part of downtown that has had some vacancy, as opposed to removing one business just to do another. Now, ultimately, the state did not agree with my assessment, and that's just the way it goes. But that was my position, and those were the things that we raised for the state.
Another business that probably is going to open soon. I haven't seen the actual target date, but we've talked about it on Upper Court Street where the A&W restaurant used to be, and that is a site that's been vacant for several years and non-productive since the A&W restaurant shut down, and they've put up signage that Cottonmouth Dispensary will be opening soon, and that went through the entire process, including, of course, getting the state licensing and going through the planning commission with hearings and so on. So in terms of where Binghamton stands so far with the emerging cannabis business, whether it's retail or a new processing business that's planned over on Chenango Street, what's your assessment of the way things are going in the early stages?
I would say that both the state and the industry as a whole sees Binghamton as a place where it's just easy to do business, where they have the support of City Hall, that we understand this as a tax revenue generator. The city receives 3% of all sales of cannabis in the city of Binghamton. That's a good chunk of money that can help pay for people to pick up your garbage and police and fire. And so, we want to create a good environment. And I also think, too, that because of the strict mandates that the state has on these properties, they are going to be not negatives for the business districts that they operate in. Their stores are going to be clean. They're going to be secure. They're going to be bringing in, people that are willing to spend, considerable amount of money, I think sometimes hundreds of dollars per stop. And if you look at the types of customers, it's not necessarily a college crowd or a younger crowd. I think that you'll see older people, again, and people that are coming into the city or coming into our area for this specific purpose. So I think it's been a positive, and we've had very responsible regulations as part of it.
Binghamton Mayor Jared Cram, thanks for joining us today to talk about a few city-related issues.
Thanks, Bob.
And we'll probably see you next month.
That's right.
It's 11 o'clock. You're listening to Binghamton Now. I'm Bob Joseph on WNBF Binghamton and WNBF. This is your Binghamton Now program as we open up the phone lines at 607-772-1290. If you have things to say, we are here for you. Good morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Martin, Binghamton.
Morning. What's up? You're on the air.
I know I am. Thank you. I know that one day that will never happen again, man.
I know. I fooled you. You thought we were having a private conversation, and it turned out that billions and billions of people were listening.
You didn't say the usual segue there.
No, that's true. Yep.
I was up the night before for the bogus election there, but right off the bat, this guy couldn't do it any worse. Could he possibly believe? Don't take my word for it. Take John Bolton's word for it, who just said in the past hour that Matt Gaetz was probably the worst appointment ever made in U.S. history. And in general, not just for the Department of Justice. Are you up on this, Bob, yet?
No, I had not heard this. I'm not surprised necessarily that John Bolton said it, because John Bolton seems to be a man of integrity and honesty. But I'm now punching up the story. I see the headline. Even it's on the New York Post website of all places. Bolton calls Matt Gaetz, you're right, the worst nomination for a cabinet position in American history. Let's see, I'll have to do the math. That's like 248 years?
Yeah, well, don't take my word for it or his either. How about Mike Johnson's, who came out this morning? He's livid and said, what are you doing? You're stalling us. We need to move forward here, especially in these first 100 days. They're crucial, and we're going to be strapped by this. And plus his other appointments, too. You know.
Well, what others? I mean, I think, aside from Matt Gaetz, I think all the others are interesting.
Well, her main premise, Gephardt, is that she doesn't trust our government, or does she trust the other governments and stuff? And so that's a recipe for gridlock.
I heard somebody was talking about Tulsi Gabbard, and they thought that she would be turning over U.S. secrets over to Putin. That's what somebody, I saw that online. Somebody, do you think that Tulsi Gabbard would turn over U.S. secrets over to our sworn enemies?
Well, that's an early stretch. I don't know about that.
Okay, I didn't know if you heard that. I don't believe that. I saw that online, and I thought, whoa, I can't believe Tulsi Gabbard would do that.
But the other guy, Pete Hegseth, his claim to fame is that he's a Fox News host.
Yeah, so is Justine Pirro. That's why so many people were surprised that Matt Gaetz got the nod for Attorney General. Everybody, including I, figured Jeanine Pirro had the inside track for that job. So what does Jeanine Pirro get? Secretary of Transportation because she can drive a fast car?
Yeah, it's possible. But, he's a lawyer with very little experience, but never prosecuted anything. And he just resigned yesterday from the Senate over there so he can clear the way. Well, why? Because of his allegations, everything about him using drugs and having sex with young girls. Maybe that's Trump's allure to this guy.
No, I don't think. I think if he did something wrong, the Justice Department would have prosecuted him. The Justice Department looked into allegations and decided that he should not be prosecuted.
It was initially brought up, though, by a federal judge who thought that there was enough merit to bring it forward. He did not want to waste time. They're all loyalists. That's the main thing they have in common. And also, this is just fulfilling the guy who just got out of jail that we're going to take a blowtorch to the government. This is Steve Bannon's quote. This is what they want to do. They don't want to help us. Where's the child care? Where's the health insurance? Okay? Where's the clean
Well, that'll be
drinking
coming.
water?
That'll be coming. He's not president yet. He won't be president for over 2 months. So first, he has to assemble his award-winning team, and then, starting January 20th, that's when he rolls out the programs for good people like you and me.
Yeah, well, we'll see. This is why they get the name and well-deserved clown car.
That sounds mean. He hasn't even been president yet.
People in Beverly Hills are livid that Matt Gaetz used up so much Botox.
That's low. Hey.
Well,
Come on.
He's got a Cheshire grin. He's a cat man.
Well, he does always look happy. I don't know. Let's not be so judgmental. Come on, Martin. Don't be so judgmental. You're being harsh on the guy.
If it's there, I will use it. I mean, I love comedy, and
we all love comedy, but let's cut Matt Gaetz some slack.
Okay, let's cut him some slack.
Yeah, hey, don't keep repeating allegations on this program. Yeah, we've read allegations. If you want to see allegations about anyone, you go to the internet. If you want to talk about the facts, I have no reason to believe Matt Gaetz has violated any laws.
Well, let's just go with that this is bipartisan.
Right. I'll tell you, Martin, what I do hope happens as a journalist and as an American, what I hope happens, even though the ethics committee apparently has shut down its review of the wide world of Matt Gaetz, I still hope that the report that they prepared that they were going to release tomorrow, I still hope that it gets leaked. I think that's the least. We spent a lot of money, the taxpayers spent a lot of money on the ethics committee investigation into Matt Gaetz. So just because he resigned suddenly yesterday, he's not. The committee can't do anything to him, but the committee as a public service, not just to you and me as great patriotic Americans, but even as a public service to Matt Gaetz, release the report tomorrow with the caveat, hey, we understand as of November 13th, we can no longer do anything about Matt Gaetz because he's no longer a member of Congress, but as a public service and in the interest of transparency, here is the report we were planning to release. So that's a win-win.
Yes, well, I don't know if you read that too right offline, whatever you're reading. I don't know if you're reading, but yeah, that enables them, by him being appointed for this enables them to reopen that case and take a look at that.
Oh, really?
Particularly.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe it's going to be good. Because when I look at the wide world of Matt Gaetz, based on the coverage of Matt Gaetz over the last 10 or 20 years, my thought is that people, even Matt Gaetz, people should just want the truth to come out. Because there have been plenty of allegations, but I think in the end, the truth should prevail.
Well, I don't know about that, but also look at Hegseth. He was.
I like him because he's a broadcaster. Well, not technically a broadcaster because he was on cable, but still, as a member of the powerful Fox News team, he is comfortable with the media, so I think that's good.
He was accused of murder.
Oh, again, I'm not going to dwell on accusations. Millions of people are accused of things. But the accusations are meaningless unless conviction is secured.
Well, you'll be hearing about that.
All right. Well, I'll keep reading. There's been a lot going on over the last 8 days, but I'm not going to stop reading. I'm willing to consider all the incoming information.
Well, I got a kick out of Trump yesterday when talking.
Well, what did he do yesterday?
Well, he says, the world can be an ugly place.
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah.
He was meeting with who's the Biden? Joe Biden from the White House. And I gotta say, for that 26 seconds, those guys actually seemed friendly.
Well, that's what. Well, I would have threw a parting shot at him because he says the world could be a horrible, a bad place, terrible place. But today it is nice. Today it's the good world. Yeah, because they're giving you they're promising you that they're going to transfer the power to them. But I certainly would have. But maybe he'll do it later, hopefully, because he was too nice. Give him a parting shot, unlike your administration. But, of course, that wouldn't be too couth. But, I'm sure that those words will be spoken in time by other people in the Republican Party. And they deserve to be, Bob. He's guilty of that while he's sitting up there eating multiple cheeseburgers, watching people.
It's not cheeseburgers. It's Big Macs or maybe quarter pounders or maybe pounders. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes you're so hungry that you can't settle for a quarter pounder. You need a half pounder or, dare I say, the one that they're going to test market here in Binghamton, the pounder, with extra onions.
You didn't get a quarter pounder with the cheese in it there.
Thank you, Martin. Hope you have a good afternoon.
Okay. But, yeah, Matt Gates, right out of the gate.
Hey. Yeah. No, I mean... What that means, who's next.
Well, who?
Taylor Swift. That is going to really, the liberals and Democrats are really going to flip out when they find out about the appointment of Taylor Swift and the new Trump administration. That is going to cause the internets to melt completely down.
Well, that's quite hypothetical, but...
well, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, you never know with this guy. We're going to see this blowtorch coming to the country. Okay, that's what they have in mind.
Well, that's why these are interesting. They say we live in interesting times. Well, we always have, but gotta say, over the last week, the times have gotten a lot more interesting.
Yes, just like the marijuana dispensary named Cottonmouth.
Yeah, what the heck is that about? Are they now trying to rub our nose in it?
I didn't know that was a thing still, Bob. I mean, if you're going to indulge, usually you're going to have a bottle of water or some wine or something. Otherwise, you're going to talk like this, Bob, It'd be hard to say anything,
Hey,
I mean,
come on, man.
A bottle of water, please, somebody.
That reminds me, Cheech and Chong are coming up next on Binghamton Now.
Have a good day.
Bye. And I'm kidding. Cheech and Chong are not ever going to be coming up next on Binghamton Now.
Thank you very much. And politics is tough, and it's many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate it very much. A transition that's so smooth, it'll be as smooth as it can get.
Smooth jazz, WNBF. Go back to the busy phones. Johan and Endicott, good morning.
Good morning, Bob. Interesting show so far. I'm going to make it even more interesting. You, last segment before the commercial, you talked about if Taylor Swift got appointed to part of Trump's cabinet, and the internet might melt down if that happened. Now, are you aware of, who Alex Jones is, right?
Yes. Oh, no.
Are you aware of what happened?
Well, not exactly. Bring me up to speed on this one, because I had heard some rumblings.
All right. Well, he had a huge, over $1 billion settlement leveraged against him for his commentary on the Sandy Hook shootings. And in order to raise money, there was an auction on his assets. And the parody rag, The Onion, bought everything. And they're going to shut him down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I saw something on Twitter that made a reference to it, and I didn't follow up on it. So I saw that I think last hour when I was talking with Mayor Cram.
So here, where I'm going with this is, with that recent news, I don't think a press secretary has been appointed yet. And if you want to see the internet meltdown and people howling at the moon, what if Alex Jones got appointed as press secretary for the Trump administration?
He wouldn't.
He could.
He could. I know he could, but he wouldn't.
All right.
But thanks. That's food for thought. Actually, I have heard a couple other theories about who will be the press secretary. Maybe we'll talk tomorrow about who would be a really good press secretary for President-elect Trump when he takes office on January 20th, or even before. He needs a press secretary now, even before he's inaugurated.
Right. Well,
Alex Jones.
Quitting or losing their jobs can alleviate some more time for them to maybe fill some positions for the Trump cabinet.
There you go. It's Alex Jones is suddenly in the top 5 potential press secretaries for President-elect Donald Trump. Thank you, Johan.
Anytime. Take care. Oh, you forgot garlic nuts, too. Good time pizza, subs, and garlic nuts.
Absolutely. Now I'm hungry.
Right.
Thank you. Good time pizza and subs and garlic nuts. Yes, Bob. Yes. I can't sing. I admit. Jesse from Owego, you're on the air.
I knew this show was gonna get good.
This show is always good, and it keeps getting better.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he just threw me a curveball. I got to get there. I got to mess with him because I know he's messing me. Now, what about, is it Director or Secretary of Transportation?
Yeah, Janine Pirro.
There we go.
She's got a fast car. If anybody knows how to deal with America's transportation infrastructure, Janine Pirro has proven beyond a doubt that she can drive 119 and pay a penalty of under $500. I say, if she can do it, she is the person for the job. Secretary of Transportation, Janine Pirro. You heard it here first.
I think this would be a most interesting direction of, I don't even know what to say. I think it'd be pretty good. I wonder if that's going to fix the railways and everything else. I don't know.
It certainly would finally get us the money we need to convert all of Route 17 into Interstate 86. If Janine Pirro is Secretary of Transportation, all she needs to do is ask Elon Musk to provide the extra $12 billion to get the upgrades finished so he could, and finally, the entire stretch of the Southern Tier Expressway will become Interstate 86. And, Jesse, they'll even do emergency paving on the eastbound lanes of Route 17. They'll do it during the winter because Elon Musk said so. Elon Musk said the people of Tioga County deserve a nice, smooth interstate highway.
Yeah, well, good luck.
Oh, and they could rename it. They could rename it. And I know Secretary of Transportation Janine Pirro, as well as President-elect Donald Trump, would support this. They could rename the Southern Tier Expressway. They could call it the Muskway.
You got a point.
And because of all the safety improvements and the smooth roadway surface, it would be the only highway, the only expressway in New York State with a legal speed limit of 90.
Well, I would rather see posted signs. Now, imagine, if you will, as Rod Serling would say, if the posted speed limit signs on 1786 said 119 miles an hour.
There you go. No, 120. So that way you could go 119 just through the town of Nichols. So the speed limit in that part of Tioga County would be 120. so people like Janine Pirro could drive her 2026 Cadillac Escalade through there while zipping past an entire contingent of troop cars as they go out to Chemung County to look for more squirrels.
And I also think that just before you get near that casino, they need another sign that says "Beep your horn." That way they can say hi as they're flying
There you
by.
go. I like it. Thank you.
There it is.
11:33. A limited stretch of Interstate 86 in Tioga County will have an experimental speed limit of 120 in honor of the incoming Secretary of Transportation, Janine Pirro. Got to shake that off. 607-772-1290. Now I want pizza and subs and garlic knots. Fortunately, it's lunchtime in 26 minutes. The Binghamton Now experience continues with Cliffy from the ward. Good morning.
Morning. I just got a chuckle out of the mayor there this morning when they're putting the ACBC plant over on Charles Street, and right across the street they're going to be growing acres of cannabis plants.
I was wondering if anybody picked up on that.
I got a chuckle. It actually made me laugh.
Okay.
So,
well, then, as I say on the radio, mission accomplished.
Putting a little piece of candy in front of a little kid's house at Halloween and saying, trick or treat. No, you can't have the candy, though. Your mom says you can't have sugar.
Right. Well, that's the thing. The journey, when you're dealing with these types of issues, the journey is important. You have to take everything one day at a time. So even if you go past a liquor store or a cannabis store, you have to be strong enough to say, I can't do that anymore.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
No, well, it will no doubt have some challenging elements, but I do think maybe they could put up a fence or something. But the thing with the cannabis cultivation, if it actually happens there, as many people familiar with the enterprise would tell you, they probably are still going to catch the occasional aroma of the weed being grown over there. So that is something to contemplate. Hopefully it will not cause undue concern. 11:37. Speaking of undue concern, here's a clip. I found this clip on Twitter from CNN. This is evidently an interview that was referenced earlier with the amazing John Bolton. This is actually not talking specifically about our friend Matt Gaetz, but talking more directly about our friend Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard, what are your thoughts this morning?
Well, I thought it was the worst cabinet-level appointment in history until they then heard about the Matt Gaetz appointment. Really, my reaction was that this is like the legend of Caligula, the Roman emperor, who wanted to nominate his horse as a Roman consul. You had to be a Roman senator at the time to be a consul, and it was intended to show how demeaned and degraded the Roman Senate had become. So now we're going to see whether the American Senate can stand up and reject two people who are totally unqualified, unfit professionally, and really lacking in the immoral characteristics, the character that you need to hold these jobs. I think this vote should be 100-0 against both of them.
Well, that's the first time I actually heard that. That was apparently on CNN News. So, John Bolton, the former Secretary, what was he, the ambassador to the UN? Yeah. It's 11:39, WNBF. Just checking to see if any new names have slipped out. Good news, and there is good news this morning, folks. I can assure you that my name is not, I repeat, my name is not in the running to become White House press secretary. More calls. Let's go back to those busy lines. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
I nominate Bob from Vestal.
Hey, no, you can't talk about that here. Do not talk about that. Do you think I should be the press secretary, even though my name is not being included by the main publications?
No, Bob from Vestal.
No. Can't talk about that. It's 11:40 here at WNBF. Can't talk about that. What else is going on? Oh, let's take another call. Hi, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, Joe of Greater Ithaca.
Good morning, Joe. What do you know?
Would like to speak. Well, I can't tell you where I just came from. But anyway, I got to hide this tablet. I can't turn it off as easily. Let me kill this thing. I couldn't get my computer to ramp up today to use that, so I had to use a tablet here.
Well, it sounds good.
Yeah.
Whoever that is you're listening to, he sounds like a professional.
No, he's in the drawer. Well, let's see. Joe of Greater Ithaca thinks Gates is a doofus. Okay.
Oh, come on.
Well, doofus. I'll have to tell you about Bob Nolan.
That's not nice.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, let me talk seriously about it, and then I'll talk about the word doofus. I think he's a throwaway. I think he's there because when it comes time to negotiate and get things done, I think I'll give Trump credit enough that he's smart enough to put somebody up there that he doesn't care about that they'll shoot down, and he'll say, well, see, I gave you that one. That's what I think is going to happen. He won't. Well,
maybe. I still think, I believe the bottom line is it was just designed to give him cover so he could resign from the House 2 days before that ethics committee report was going to be released. I think that's the actual reason why the nomination or why his name slipped out from the Trump team yesterday. That's just to give him some sort of excuse to resign from the House, because if he had resigned from the House without some sort of cover story, so he uses this as a cover story, and he thinks that report from the House Ethics Committee isn't going to be released, and it may not be officially released, but gotta think. It's just the way I think it will work out. I think the report ultimately is going to be leaked, and I think we'll ultimately be able to see for ourselves what the conclusions were. So if that's what the plan was, well, it didn't work. Although, again, because he's no longer in Congress, the committee can't do anything, but at least the report should make for some interesting reading in Sunday's Times.
Well, they got him out of the ditch, but then they're going to throw him under the bus. I think it's going to happen.
Well, I don't know. It's I think Matt Gaetz ought to have a talk show. I think he ought to be on WNBF from 9 to noon.
Well, it can't be any worse than what's from 9 to noon.
Replace the guy who's on from 9 to noon. That guy, replace him with somebody good to lead into Dan Bongino from noon to 3.
Well, he ought to replace somebody in the afternoon.
Who, Hannity?
Oh, yeah, and because it'd be more entertaining, okay? As entertaining as the others, but that would be a lot of entertainment. He'd be like Howard Stern, they want to know what he's going to say next.
Well, then he would have to be on satellite radio. That's why Howard Stern isn't on real radio, because on real radio, you have to watch what you say. Anybody can speak and say bad words. Anybody over the age of 6 months can say bad words, but you can't do it on real radio. So that's why Howard Stern is on satellite radio, because he's not allowed to be on real radio.
Well, he was. He was out of New York City there.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
But then he started saying bad things, and you can't say all those bad things on real radio, so he went on fake radio, the satellite. What kind of...
Well, he did for a while, yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, he and some of his colleagues on that station in New York, WNBC, they started saying stuff. It was just inappropriate. Who wants to hear that every day?
WKRP.
Yeah, it's almost time for me to get out my turkeys and load up the helicopter and go over to the mall.
People listen to him because they just wanted to hear what he would do next. And I think that's what Trump's appeal is. People are just, what's he going to do next,
Sure. Well, entertainment value.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, it's sort of like, I can't say that.
Let me say the doofus thing, okay?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Bob Dole
doofus
was the one, and there was somebody that was criticizing him, and Bob Dole says, well, Bob Dole thinks he's a doofus, and I don't know who he referred to, but that went around for ages.
Well, I just looked that up, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Apparently that happened in 2000. I forgot about it, though.
That happened a long time ago. I don't know, was it the 60s or something?
It was in the 60s?
Well, Bob Dole, he's been gone a long time.
Yeah. Do you remember Bob Dole? Did you ever see that picture of Nelson Rockefeller when he was vice president, when Nelson Rockefeller used his finger to communicate with those SUNY Binghamton students? Yeah. So that was...
That really...
Yeah, so that was... If you ever look up that picture on the internet, look up that picture because it shows Nelson Rockefeller, black and white photo, up at the Broome County Airport. I think it was in 1976. And look in the background, right behind Nelson Rockefeller, as he's flipping off those hippie freaks from SUNY Binghamton. You see in the background Bob Dole smiling. So Bob Dole was there, oblivious to Nelson Rockefeller on the cutting edge of digital communications. So take a look. If you ever look up that picture, look in the background, and Bob Dole is right there, not even paying attention.
He was like Ernie Kovacs who got himself in the picture.
Yeah. He photobombed Nelson Rockefeller, and whatever. It's crazy time. So I appreciate your call. Keep me posted.
Sure. Bye-bye.
It's 11:47 at WNBF. Bob Dole. I met Bob Dole at the Fountains Pavilion, I believe. Good guy. I miss him. And I miss Libby Dole. And I also... All this talk about Dole, now I want pineapples. What a great family. The public servants, Bob and Libby Dole. And of course, his career in TV commercials. 11:48, WNBF. Come on, man. Hey, what's going on? You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
John from the Binghamton Plaza.
Hey there. What's happening? I went over there the other day, and I see the guys from Gorick Construction are busy raising the Riverwalk.
Right. It never flooded here in 40-something years that I know of. I've been here 40 years, my shop has. It goes everywhere else in town but here. It never flooded here ever. I think it's a big waste of money. But one thing I did call you about is, everybody's promoting these weed stores and all this. I missed the with the mayor today on your radio. I was busy. But I'd like to, on the north side, we have a new store here in the Binghamton Plaza. It's called TT Junior's Oddities. It's like a Salvation Army thrift store. They have a lot of stuff. I wish you would have promoted something like that. So, we do draw a little bit more business over here. It's open 5 days a week. So
yeah, what type of stuff do they have? Do they have weed? Do they have
no weed, no alcohol? They just have anywhere from kids' clothing and shoes all the way to furniture, all kinds of furniture. It's reasonably priced stuff. It's used stuff. It's sort of like lots of Salvation Army or whatever.
So when did they open?
Street. They opened a couple weeks ago now.
All right.
But so I wish you would have said something about that so people would come over here, and maybe, I think it's going to be a good thing for people on the north side.
All right.
All right.
All right. Well,
and
thank you.
I'm sure you did get a look at that Riverwalk. What do you think?
Well,
truthfully.
Well, I mean, when I went over there, the guys, I got there too late, so the guys had finished work for the day, so I was glad the guys at Gorick have something to do.
Right. Well,
because those people, the people who work for Gorick, I've seen them out, whether it's construction projects or demolition projects. Those guys are pros. Have you ever seen them work? I mean, they are professionals. I mean, here I can see already the work they did with the Riverwalk. They're doing good work there.
They're very, very good work.
Yeah.
Very good. Very, very good.
But one thing Mayor Cram said about that project, because I did bring it up when he was here last hour, he said it's something that's mandated by the DEC.
But I mean, I think there's a lot of other places that need to be,
Well, I agree there might be other places that need attention, but it appears, based on what Mayor Cram said about this particular project behind the Binghamton Plaza, basically going from the Serafini garage up toward Sherry Lindsay Park, that stretch along the Shenango River, apparently that work is something that needs to be done according to the DEC.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I flooded the town of Dickinson and all that other stuff. It never flooded here. And what's going over the wall on Court Street, the last flood we had and everything, never come over here ever. So, all right.
All right. Well, keep an eye on things. If you see something going on, give me a call.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. It's 11:51 at WNBF. Yeah, the people that were, as I said, I went over to check out the project. I had been there already a couple of times, but every time I go, my timing's not good because I think they start early in the day, and by the time that I've gotten over to the site, it's been late afternoon, and by then they've wrapped up their work day. It's 11:51 at WNBF, live and local here in Binghamton. Morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Richard from Binghamton.
Hi, Richard. Are you from the south side?
I am from the south side, the hilly side of Binghamton.
Yes, the lovely south side. What's on your mind?
So. Well, I'm calling to say that I'm disappointed that the mayor dismissed overwhelming scientific evidence of fluoride's harm to health in recent years in favor of an 80-year-old unproven hypothesis that ingesting fluoride will benefit your teeth.
Well, I'm glad that you heard that, because I was hoping, when I brought that up last hour, I was hoping, because I know we've had some conversations generally about this off the air, but last August, we talked with the researcher who has presented his findings, his opinions about the impact of fluoride on human health. And, of course,
Professor Paul Connick.
Right. And so I'm glad that, because we talked about so many topics last hour, I was hoping, although we only spent about 2 minutes talking about the issue of fluoride in drinking water, I was hoping that you heard. Now, tell people who aren't aware about this relatively new city commission, because this commission has only started work just in recent months. So tell me about the commission on which you serve.
Sure. The commission is called the Commission for Conservation of the Commission for the Conservation of the Environment. And it is a commission that had been active during Mayor Ryan's term in office, but I think it became dormant after that. That was before I moved here, by the way, but this is what I've been told. And so when the new city council came in January, they decided to reactivate it, and they appointed 9 members of the commission. It's a very, very good panel of people, including somebody with a master's degree from public health, and biologists and people who have had administrative experience in government before. So it's quite a diverse group. And so we had our first meeting in April, and we set up various committees and task forces, and we're still kind of just getting started. But the fluoride issue was the first thing that got passed after the bylaws got passed. And we're working on a number of other issues. We have worked on the climate action plan. We had input into the zoning proposal we're working on right now that Mayor Cram introduced a few months ago. Or I should say the planning department of Mayor Cram's administration. And so that's pretty much what we're about.
So the commission last month actually voted 5-4 to recommend that the city stop the practice of fluoridation of the water supply. So that recommendation from the commission now goes to city council, correct?
Yes. Prior to that, the committee voted unanimously, and then the commission voted 5-4 to recommend stop fluoridating the water to the full city council. And that was announced at the meeting, I think about a week ago on Wednesday, by the council president, Hadassah Matovetsky. The commission vote took place on October 24th. People can look at these meetings on YouTube.
So at this point, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, hopefully we will get Binghamton to stop fluoridating its water. It's also a hazard to the people that work at the plant.
I know the water superintendent who appeared at the commission meeting talked about the precautions that they have to take to make sure that the workers over at the treatment plant on Broome Street, I believe, are not harmed by the fluoride that's being added, because if they're not careful, that could be very, very damaging if they don't take precautions.
Yes, it's a very corrosive acid. It's very dangerous. Of course, it's diluted, but we now know that even at current levels of fluoridation, which are 0.7 parts per million, such as in Binghamton, pose an unreasonable risk of adverse neurological effects on children, at least by lowering IQ. And that more than 70 research studies back up that claim. And in September of this year, a federal judge in California, Judge Chen, issued an 80-page ruling to that effect.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what council does, if council actually will act on it. I got the impression from the brief comments from the mayor last hour, he's not inclined to think that council is likely to go along with the recommendation. I mean, he didn't say that in so many words, but that just in our brief chat, that was the impression I got. And you certainly heard he clearly doesn't support changing this policy.
Well, all I could say is that I wish that he would, have a discussion about it and keep an open mind, because I don't expect the mayor to keep up to date on every issue, but I would hope that he would not have been as dismissive as he was on your program.
Are there any other municipalities in New York State currently considering this type of change, to your knowledge?
Actually, Ithaca does not fluoridate its water. And it is optional in New York State, so some municipalities do and some don't. There's
right.
A small town by the name, I think it's called Yorktown or something like that, which immediately decided not to fluoridate as soon as the judge's decision came out in September.
Well, it'll be interesting. Richard, I appreciate your calling in. If you hear anything new on this, let me know, okay?
I will, absolutely, Bob. Thank you, and take care.
Thank you. Interesting program. Lots of topics today, but don't worry. We have plenty to talk about tomorrow. I'm not done. I'm not done yet. I'm Bob Joseph. I'll be back tomorrow morning with another episode of Binghamton Now.